Hell yeah, and welcome to episode 8 of the Temple Bard podcast with me, Jim Wynn, and Philip Noon. Let's go.
So Ozempic is like, so I'd like to know just a bit about it before we actually talk about it, because it's used as a prescription drug for people with type 2 diabetes, right?
Is this the weight loss thing?
Yeah, everybody's taking it now because apparently what the crack is, like, it tricks your body into thinking you're not hungry.
Yeah.
So it tricks your body in, as soon as you take it, your body thinks you've had a full day's food.
Yeah.
And weight's just falling at people, like it's...
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were talking about some street drug.
No. So Ozempic is, like, because we don't know a lot about it, we probably sound like amateurs here to, like, because I think it has taken the country, I think it's taken the world by storm.
There's a huge waiting list for people to trying to get on it.
So and that's why I think it's being bought kind of off online and things like that. But I think everybody's trying to get to the doctor to try and get their Ozempic prescriptions.
People want to have their cake and eat it too. It always ties in.
The Ozempic. And that today, folks, is the beginning of the Temple Bard podcast. We are talking about gluttony. And what about I think that's a nice enough way to start there.
Yeah. So, greed or gluttony is one of the 7 deadly sins, but like we discussed before, it's just a part of a human trait. So one person's greed, like my greed, would have me unable not to finish a whole bag of fizzy jellies if I eat one. Other people's greed means that they will start huge corporations and try to take over the world. It's just a matter of what makes you greedy. And we all have something that makes us greedy. We're all greedy for success or fulfillment in some way.
We are.
But gluttony is... Let's look up gluttony, because I'm assuming it's greed, but to me it sounds like food greed. Probably because I watched Seven, probably because he ate all that pasta in Seven. But I wonder if gluttony is itself.
So you did get the little... Is it GIF or GIF that I sent you the other day? The what's in the box?
I don't know if it's a GIF. I call it a GIF.
I call it... I call it a GIF, I think. Yeah, a GIF.
I call it a GIF, yeah. No, I did get it, yeah, of course, yeah. I love that film.
So we have a recurrent... Well, just at the moment, we're on a bit of a 7 deadly sins buzz here on the Temple Bar.
Yeah, we thought we did pride there.
We've done vanity.
We've done vanity. Well, that is pride kind of thing, isn't it?
We've done notions. That was one of the Irish deadly sins.
They're all kind of pride.
Saint Patrick.
Yeah. Gluttony means overindulgences and overconsumption of food or drink. Oh, yeah. Gluttony is specific to food or drink, so I think we're going to go with greed today because it's a bit more of a wider topic. Because you can be greedy and gluttonous,
of course.
But you can't be gluttonous and you can't be skinny and greedy. You can't be gluttonous.
You can if you're on the Ozempic.
Yeah, if you're on the Ozempic.
The Ozempic, you can be as skinny and greedy as you want.
Yeah, Mount Ozympus.
Now listen, we're not knocking Ozempic as a drug because, it is used properly and, it is. But, there are people going to abuse everything,
Yeah.
Like Ryan Garcia last week or a couple of weeks ago with that Devin Haney. He came out. So Ryan Garcia, do you know the boxer Ryan Garcia?
I think so.
So he's this young kind of featherweight... Yeah, I think he's a featherweight. Is he lightweight boxer?
If he's on the Ozempic, he can be whatever he wants.
So what happened was, it turned out that in the run up to the fight, he was doing all this mad shit.
Yeah.
Like he was partying till like 4 o'clock in the morning, like falling out of New York nightclubs, and like he was seen like coming in and out of bars looking all like he'd have sunglasses on. And he was looking fucked, and then he started posting all this mad stuff online at like all hours of the morning, talking about Jesus, where he looked like he was in someone's kitchen, like mad stuff, right?
Yeah.
And he's got this fight coming up with Devin Haney, and Devin Haney is like, he's a phenomenon. Like, he's never been beaten. He's incredible. And Ryan Garcia is putting up all these mad videos like, God's going to help me beat you and Jesus is going to help me do this, and putting up this mad stuff. Like, he's whacked out of his mind, like, whatever. Gets into the ring and absolutely boxes the head of Devin Haney. Turns out it was all just a stunt to get inside Haney's head. And he was actually in the gym every day and training, but then he'd wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and like head to some club and get pictured coming out of it just to...
Class, yeah. Do you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of Steve Collins to Chris Eubank back in the day, remember? Where he said he was being hypnotised. He said Steve Collins fought Chris Eubank.
Right.
Chris
I remember he fought him, but I didn't hear
Chris
this.
Eubank was the undefeated, had beaten Nigel Benn and all, and Steve Collins came out and started saying he's getting hypnotised all the time to be a fucking... to go through him, and because he'd heard that Eubank was very superstitious about things like that, So it got into Eubank's head, and it turns out he never did any hypnotism. Like, he was just trying to say it to get into his head.
Did he beat him?
He beat him.
Class.
He beat him twice, actually. He beat him twice. He beat him the first time, and then the second time, he'd obviously already got into his head, and he beat him.
Second time he was like, last night I used the Ouija board.
Yeah. Good old Steve Collins. He was fucking. That was a great little matchup back in the day. Anyone who remembers all those old cunts.
Battered everybody in house.
Yeah.
House and home and in the ring.
Yeah, he never went much further than that. Did he fight anyone else really after that? I don't. Did he? He never fought Calzaghe. I think that was a bit. I think he just came in after his.
We were in Vegas when Calzaghe was fighting your man Bernard Hopkins years ago, and after Calzaghe was a good boxer. He was a good boxer.
He was undefeated in the end, no? Was he not?
Was he?
I think so. Yeah. He retired undefeated.
What happened with Steve Collins? Just that he cased with the wife, and then he just kind of fell off.
I'm not sure. I don't even remember what happened with the wife. I just remember it's a vague memory. Like it's one boxing and.
No, he had a big domestic abuse court case.
Did he?
Yeah, he had a big one. Yeah.
I heard him on a podcast recently, actually, talking about all this and talking about how he just did it to get into Eubank's head.
That's class.
Yeah, because I remember at the time it was a huge scandal. It was the Hawk 2 of the day.
The Hawk 2.
everyone was talking about it.
You know something? It's funny you should say that. I don't know how this came into my head, but it was only today. And it was the power of the internet, and I was just thinking about it, because if the internet was as big as it was back in the day, this wouldn't have happened. So when we were in like 4th or 5th class, I'm from a small town in Ireland, so it's Cavan, and everybody knows everybody. The teacher at the time was actually from Cavan as well, obviously. So there was a guy in our class, and he didn't do his homework. The teacher had told him, if you don't have your homework done tomorrow, don't come in, because he'd been doing this for a while. But he was bold, but he was good crack, but he was bold.
Yeah.
So he said on that morning, he said, I'm going to tell him my auntie died. Right? So we were like, right. So this was his reasoning. But when you think about it, so his auntie Joan lived in Dublin.
Yeah.
Who was his father's sister. His father's family are all from Cavan. Joan's from Cavan. She just moved to Dublin in her 20s.
Right, yeah.
Right? So we're in the classroom.
Well fleshed out.
So we're, Joan's from Cavan.
Yeah,
she just lived in Dublin for so many years. But everybody,
Yeah.
So the teacher is of a certain age, obviously grew up with Joan.
Yeah.
We get in that morning and he says, oh, sir, my auntie died. And the teacher says, what auntie? And he says, my auntie Joan. And the teacher's face goes white. And he says, is Joan dead? And he says, yeah. And he goes, oh my God, I'm so sorry. The teacher lands at the house with a mass card.
Fuck.
That night.
God.
For Joan.
No way.
His father answers the door, and the teacher's there with a mass card to express his condolences, because there was no internet. You couldn't just go on RIP.ie or whatever.
Yeah.
Teacher went, got a mass card, landed over to the house.
Jesus.
Oh, I'd say he got battered.
He could have got away with that if he had done his homework. That's the ironic thing, Phil.
But that was his reasoning was like, nah, Joan lives in Dublin. He's not going to know Joan.
Yeah.
Him and Joan were probably in the same class in school.
Yeah. You mean Joan that I used to go out with for 4 years?
But yeah, it's funny like that. Like when you think back to, I was listening to Foster and Alan on the Two Johnnies podcast, and they were saying that they grew up like they remembered having like no water or no electricity.
Yeah.
And like when you think it, there's still people in the world now who grew up with no water and no electricity. Like so, when you look at how far it's come.
Yeah.
To where we are now, and how far it's probably gonna go.
Yeah. So you wonder how that's another thing that ties into greed, because you see in a lot of, there's obviously a huge growth in inequality worldwide, but in countries like where I've been, like Bali or India, these countries, there's like you're literally in a slum, and then you turn the corner and there's like a fucking marble shopping centre that just sells Gucci and fucking and Bugatti Veyrons. Like it's just literally be right from one end to another. It's like the
divide,
the difference, yeah, between poverty and extreme wealth.
But I think that in India it's like that. So you've got your super. There's no middle class.
Yeah.
It's like your super.
And the middle class
wealthy.
is fading everywhere. Like even in Ireland, you can see it. Like it's changed since I was younger. Now people are either working class, nearly welfare class, getting council houses, or you have to be like in a fucking two professionals working all the time to be able to afford a house. But again, I think it's part of the duality collapsing, and it's all just going to work itself out. What's going to have to happen is people are going to have to refuse to live in the system the way it is, and I would hope it would be in a peaceful way. the simple fact is the people who are in charge need everybody else way more than everybody else needs them. So it's just a matter of people being organised and stuff like the internet. And like we're in the early days of it now where it's a lot of fucking shit show and dumpster fires. But when people get organised and say, listen, like if you look at someone like my greed for fizzy jellies, no one's going to judge me over that. They just say, oh, that's his greed for fizzy jellies. And I would look at billionaires like that or corporations like that. It's like, that's just the way they are. I don't blame them for the way they are. They've done well with what they are, but now it's time we're going to have to roll it back a bit. Sorry, lads. You've had your fun. You've finished your jellies. Now, the next packet is for the other kids.
So right? when you say that about billionaires, would you treat Cristiano Ronaldo the same? So yeah, did you watch him last night?
I didn't know. I heard he was crying.
So what he did was, in the first half of extra time, he gets a penalty.
Yeah.
Now, when I say he took every free kick that Portugal got from every distance and every angle last night up until this moment. Like at one stage they got a free kick over on the left-hand side where it's just a cross into the box. That's all it is, right? And he steps up, spreads his legs and does that big long sigh.
Yeah.
The referee actually sees this and runs over and moves the ball back even more then. After he does this, saying like, the referee's pissed off at him at this stage. He's like, he moves the ball back even more, saying like, no, Ronaldo, what does he do? Puts the stance on again and does the big sigh, and he still goes for it, misses it. Anyway, they get a penalty, with like a minute to go at the end of the first half of extra time.
Yeah.
Ronaldo steps up to take the penalty. It's, do you know this big thing that Slovenian media have been kind of going mad about was going to be, they build the game as Ronaldo versus Oblak. That's what they build the game as. So he steps up and Oblak makes an incredible save, unbelievable. Because it was a great penalty. It was low and hard.
Yeah.
He made a full run up, it was low and hard, he wanted to score it. Yeah. And Oblak at full stretch makes a great save, right? You still have another 15 minutes to go, you still have another second half of injury time. Yeah. Ronaldo starts balling. Just starts balling.
Yeah.
Like, there's still another 15 minutes to go.
Yeah.
So he's on the sideline. Diogo Dalot's trying to console him, and he's inconsolable. Like he's it's just all about him.
Yeah,
I'm like you're a whole country, like.
But he's not thinking that. He's not thinking like I'm doing it. To him, that's just the way he is. I was watching it. Do you know who that reminds me of? Paul Gascoigne from back in the day when he got a yellow card in the World Cup semi-final, and he started crying. And Gary Lineker had the famous thing where he said, "Have a word." It's a famous meme. Like it's a huge thing to remember. So, you know, like sometimes, like we talked about before in this podcast, Ronaldo has got to where he is by being selfish and focusing on himself. But
it was just, it was like, just the way he was crying. He still has 15 minutes to go. I'm like, you've got Bernardo Silva, Bruno Fernandes, Ruben Neves had just come on. You know, you've got fantastic players around you, and you're crying because you missed the penalty. Yeah. Like when Ireland got to the Euros, I went to Poland when Ireland got to Euros, and we were like, we're in this together. Like, do you know what I mean?
Shoes
like, we're
off
for the boys in green.
Shoes off.
But you know what I mean? Like, so the whole and he makes it all about him. Anyway, what happened? The second half of injury time plays out. They get the penalties. He steps up, takes his first penalty, and he scores it. He immediately apologizes to the crowd. I'm like, you're still making it about you, right? This annoyed me, but that was only the beginning of my annoyance, right? Okay. The Slovenian first three penalty takers step up, and the Portuguese keeper makes three incredible saves, one after another. The first time 3 consecutive saves have ever been made in the European Championships.
I saw it on the app.
In history. Like, he's incredible, right? Unbelievable Portugal win. Cristiano Ronaldo gets interviewed. This is how his interview goes. He says, you know, it's not about the penalty. It's because I missed, or because I haven't missed so many in my last 23 penalties, and then tonight the one that I really need to score I missed. And, you know, that's not good enough, but I will never shy away. I will always, I. Then he goes, but our goalkeeper made 3 great saves, and we're through to the next round. Yeah. I was like, oh my God. It's like, this man this goalkeeper is a hero, like.
Yeah.
Not only that, but Pepe made a bad back pass at the end of extra time as well. And the goalkeeper came out and saved him as well. Like, Ronaldo and Pepe, 39 and 41 years of age, still
being the kind of big Billy Big Bollocks at the.
Do you know, just, but it was just his attitude. I was like, that now, yeah.
It's funny though. It's his attitude when he's delivering is not a problem. You know what I mean?
That's, yeah.
It's when it starts to wane that it becomes a problem, and it's greed. He's greedy for. He's built himself up to be the best player in the world. He had this drive and ambition. I said it after seeing him for a few times at United. I said he'll be the best player in the world. I just knew it sometimes, and I am not a fucking scout. Like I've never called it since like that, but I just knew it after a few games, and what he turned into was amazing. But he did it in, like we've talked about, in a different way to Messi, where he just focused on his own self, fitness, and fucking trained and uber trained and ate everything, ate fucking boiled chicken and whatever, pasta all the time, and really focused himself on it. And then it became like his fans, you become an idol, where everywhere you go and everyone just idolizes you. So, like we talked about McGregor, it's got to be hard, like, to deal with that and try and keep your feet in the ground. So I wouldn't be I prefer someone who's more humble, like Messi. I can understand how he got that way. You know what I mean? I can understand how his personality turned him into being so.
Messi's.
No.
Ronaldo's. Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Definitely, yeah. And there was trauma there as well. His dad was an alcoholic, and he never really got to see a lot of.
Yeah, his dad died when he was during his first couple of years at United.
But then, right? Think about it. So you've Ronaldo who gets there and becomes this. You've McGregor who gets there and becomes what Conor is.
Yeah.
And
he does the opposite of your man at the start. Instead of pretending to go out to the clubs, he just goes out to the club.
So I don't want to speculate, but he's up the mountains in Switzerland somewhere this week.
Is he? Yeah,
that's what he's posting. He's up on top of mountains and all in Switzerland. It all looks very.
He's hoping they beat England.
It all looks very calm wherever he is. It all looks.
It sounds very Rocky IV.
No, I think it's a bit. I don't think he's in any pubs or any nightclubs. Right, I think he could be.
I think it's a.
I think he could
rehabilitation
be.
centre.
I think he could be keeping away from the pubs. Well, maybe I'm wrong, but he just looks like he's keeping away from the pubs and the nightclubs. He looks wherever he is very peaceful and very serene.
I hope he has a peaceful time and hopefully learns a bit about himself. And
so, how do they become that, and Messi becomes Messi? Sound.
Again, this is only our perception that we have. We don't know what Messi's really like or what Ronaldo's really like.
But nobody knows what we're really
like. Nobody knows what anyone's like. Even your closest family, you have your idea, you have your own perception that you put onto people, but we don't really know.
So maybe Ronaldo overall is sounder than Messi because he shows us he's an absolute prick.
Well, yeah.
Well, Messi's probably just a prick to the wife.
Maybe. Maybe.
Messi gets home and slams the door, starts baiting the kids around the house.
Yeah. We don't know. We can only go by the image that we're sold, and.
But I get it very hard. I think Messi sounds like,
well, come here. When Ronaldo was at United, I was all about Ronaldo, you know. And
the first
time. And still for a few years after that, I was trying to get him back. I knew when we got him back the second time, it wasn't a good idea. I'd seen it. I'd seen the progression then, and seen, you know, his body wasn't going to live up to the hype. But
what's going to happen to him now when he finishes? And this,
I don't know.
No, this is a very serious question. If you think about it, right, when you're that focused and you're that into it, like you've heard the story about him and Patrice Evra years ago.
Yeah.
After training, where they went to his house and then he like played football and then they ate a salad.
I love this game, but not this fucking much.
he was like, we should have just stayed at training.
Yeah.
But when everything goes quiet after that, that's a worry. And it happens with.
Well, I think it'll happen. What'll happen? It'll be. And it's probably the wheels are already in motion. He's going to own some Saudi club, just like Beckham owns the American club. You know, there'll be some. But
what like I don't think we can compare him to anybody else because you see we can compare him to Usain Bolt, right? Because Usain Bolt's a sprinter and he had to retire at 30 years of age. Have you seen Usain Bolt now?
No.
Oh my God, he's put on about, I'm not messing, 5 stone.
No way.
And not muscle. Like he's just
because he was running off them chicken nuggets before. Remember he said all he eats is chicken nuggets. Now he's watching Netflix and chicken nugget, which is a different kettle of fish.
But you see, I don't think Ronaldo has that. So what's he gonna do? Like I'd worry about his mental health when he finishes because like when you have to be the best all the time, and then when everything goes quiet, that's a very quiet place.
I have a feeling he'll keep up the fitness thing. Like, I have a feeling he's got that vanity that he will keep up the fitness thing. I think he'll probably move on to something else, business or something. That's my thought now. Maybe I'm wrong, but that would be my thought. And probably in time he'll become more humble and he'll learn, as we all do as we go. Like, there's things, do you ever look back at things that you wrote on this day in Facebook? Like,
Oh my God.
I look back 10 years ago and I go, that is not, like, that's a different person.
I'd batter me.
It's not even, it's just, don't even judge yourself. Just look
Oh no,
back
I
at
do.
it.
I cringe like fuck.
Yeah, I know. Like, that's the natural thing to do, but it's pointless because you're just, like, every cell in your body has changed every 7 years. So,
But no, I think this is it too, because it's funny enough you say this, because you get a memory every day. And I look back on it, and I just don't think at the time we knew how to use the internet properly.
yeah,
You know, like Facebook, we had Bebo, but that wasn't for that. Bebo wasn't for Bebo was for posting pictures and slagging your friends on their little wall and things like that. And then all of a sudden we got Facebook, and Facebook's famous caption was, "Tell us what's on your mind."
yeah.
And people just start writing things.
What is Facebook used for now? Because I don't think, even if I spend very little time on Facebook, but when I do go through it, I hardly see anyone I know anymore. It's all like kind of ads and
Yeah, I'll tell you what's funny. It's like, I remember I suppose, before COVID, at what I would have called maybe the peak of Facebook. Like, you could post something and you'd get, thousands of views and hundreds of likes and things like that. Now you post something and it's like 30 likes
yeah.
and maybe 700 or 800 views, because they want you to boost it. They want you to spend the money. They want you to
Once you've boosted it once, I had a page, and I think I had one thing go, like, I got 100,000 views on some cover I did, and then once I boosted something once, ever since then nothing's gone.
Once they see you, they know you have that you have the potential in you to boost something.
And that works all around with me, Instagram and everything as well. Like, I think since I took 2 or 3 years off all social media, and now I'm convinced that the algorithm doesn't like me because nothing I post goes out to more than like about
Welcome back.
25 people.
Welcome back, you
welcome
prick.
back. Yeah. You know what you did, kid. But it is what it is.
How was the wilderness?
Yeah, it was actually fucking great. I wish I'd stayed there.
I'm telling you, yeah. So, the lads who live off the grid? Geez, that'd be class.
Yeah, I'd love to do it, yeah. I'd love to do, well, we're going camping soon, and we were looking at spots there the other day, and we found a spot where someone had built like a platform with a roof all off the ground, like in the middle of the forest.
Right, like a tree house.
Like, it's better than a tree. It's like nearly a house, like, or the structure of a house. Has a dartboard and all these old
No way.
car seats and all in it. We just stumbled across this looking for a camping spot, so we're going to camp there maybe tomorrow. But yeah, so something like that would be great. Did you see there's a fella?
Was this in Dublin or Wicklow?
Dublin in the mountains. I won't specify the area because I don't want to give it away for whoever's building it. I'm sure it's
No,
an
but
ongoing project.
it's not Larry, no.
I hope not. There was a pickaxe there, and some rope and some tarp. So, Larry, if it's you, we'll leave no trace of DNA.
Just like you, Larry.
But off the grid, yeah, it's something that I like watching. It's one of those things that my algorithm shows me because it's a thing I like watching people living off the grid. Or there's a fella now going across the Pacific Ocean and all, these fucking mad cunts. I couldn't do that now because of my fear of sharks, but watching people doing it, I love watching it.
But it's like, have you ever seen the waves when you get over there? And imagine you in one of them wee boats and the next thing.
Yeah, 70-foot waves, like.
What was the name of that film?
Perfect Storm.
Perfect. Oh, like, imagine you've been over there in one of them wee boats by yourself, and next thing you just, like, in the distance, you just see them brewing. You're just thinking, oh no.
But the thing about the Perfect Storm was it was winds from both ways, so the waves are coming both ways, I think. Because I think even with a regularly small boat, if you're trained to go into the wave, you can survive it. Like, that's how they survive storms. It's the rogue waves, the ones that come out not with the wind, like they come out like from sideways, some 40-foot fucking wave out of nowhere. That's the ones you have to worry about.
There was a friend of ours, a lad we know, and he was telling me that he was on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
when a big storm happened off like Louisiana or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
And he said, like, everybody, like, they were on this cruise ship and there was tables going left, right, and centre. People sitting down eating their dinner and just everything flying off the tables. Like,
It shows you the energy of the earth. Like, we're just a small little insulated energy field, each of us, but the power of the fucking collective. It's just like we're all sub logos of the earth itself. So we're like, we have this much power. We have the power to move this cup, or, you know, start this argument, or miss a penalty and call it all about ourselves. But we don't have the power to knock over cruise ships.
no.
Just shows you the step up in power when it comes to.
But then, have you noticed this? I don't know if you've noticed it, but maybe it's not a thing. But in the past, I'd say 2 months, there's been a massive surge in turbulence problems.
I've heard about it, yeah.
So, like, there's been two people died on a flight just because of turbulence recently, where they were thrown against the ceiling and either broke their neck or something.
Yeah.
But turbulence has been getting increasingly worse. Is there any reason or any cause for that? Or
I don't know. Well, you know, my reason is the dualities are collapsing, and that's why it's like it's just birthing pains. But I don't know for any scientific reason or climactic reason. Could be to do with the earth warming up, or who knows? Or it could be just that it's a natural thing and there hasn't been planes in the sky for all these. It's only been 100 years.
no, we've had planes in the sky for so many
Yeah,
years.
but 100 years, we don't know the actual cycles of things. Like, maybe, you know, like they say, like a meteor hits every 2,000 years or so, and we're in like a Goldilocks zone now. We haven't had one in, like, it's all these things. There's always, or the Yellowstone earthquake that blows up every 600,000 years.
Yosemite.
Yeah, and 600,000 years, and now it's been 700,000 years. We're always on the precipice of the end of it all, but the end of it all is just the end of this show. The show goes on, folks.
I had brutal turbulence the other morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what happened was I had to, because of the Aer Lingus strike, thanks Aer Lingus, I had to get a flight from Belfast to Scotland. And because the Ryanair flights direct to Amsterdam were €800, I was like, I'm not spending €800 on a Ryanair flight. Like, people who booked their flights maybe a month ago probably paid like a tenner for it.
Yeah,
and I'm sitting beside them after paying €800. I was like, I can't do that to myself. So drove to Belfast, flew across, and it was bumpy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bumpy, yeah.
It seems like Belfast to Scotland would be like a high wind area to me. For some reason, I would just think of that as like a windy place between Scotland, the Highlands of Scotland, and Belfast.
Yeah, and the plane, we didn't go up that high. You know the way like a lot of planes go, you know, you go up to 30,000 feet. Yeah. This didn't go up that high. We weren't that high above the clouds like we were.
Yeah.
We were just up and down.
Now, I know a fella, I was on a plane coming back with a fella who was terrified of flying.
Right.
And this is the worst turbulence I've ever had, and I felt so bad, sorry for him. Like, he was literally in tears and his hands were white knuckled to the seats. Apparently what happened to him is he used to be grand flying, and then he was going to South America once on a little shitty plane, and all the fucking oxygen masks came down, and there was a big like emergency. They had to do an emergency landing.
Oh, right.
And since then he doesn't like flying, and he says it's grand. But this time we were all coming back from a holiday destination, and you know, so we were all a bit rattled after a few days on the trip.
Of course.
And he was just sitting there, tears streaming down his face. He was white as a ghost, and there was like his two hands were like white because they were gripping the seat so much. And like the flight attendant was coming down and saying, "Is he all right? Is he all right? Can I give him an aspirin?" I said, "He's going to need more than an aspirin." I said, "Look," he's like, and we just got him through it. But I never felt so sorry for him, or not empathetic, like, because there's nothing you can do.
But that's the horrible. That's why I've always found, like, you know, on a plane when something, you know, every now and again there's always a drop or there's always a noise, and you're like, oh, that doesn't sound good. Because you're an airplane mechanic.
Yeah.
But something happens and the plane just goes like, boom.
Did this plane pass the NCT?
Yeah, you're just like, and you're like, oh no. But I think it's because it's out of your control. You're like, fuck, if something happened here, there's nothing you can do. Like,
yeah, that I would look at it as, well, if something happens here, there's nothing I can do. So why worry about it? That's the way I would view it. Like, I used to be like kind of you know, a bit nervous at takeoff and landings and stuff like that.
They're the takeoff and landing are my favorite parts.
Yeah?
Yeah. So I loved, like, taking off, I'm just like, okay, we're up now. So that's it. But I love landing. Like, I love coming into landing. I love that. Like, sometimes I'll just sit and watch planes landing on YouTube for like an hour or so at a time. I love that coming in and that rockiness and coming down, and sometimes you have a bit of a bang, sometimes you have a hard one, or sometimes there's just like a butter landing where you're like, oh, that was deadly.
Oh,
like.
it's butter. It's butter. He landed this plane like butter.
So like I love that.
Yeah.
And that's why I can understand like plane spotters. I can understand it's really relaxing.
Yeah.
So I understand why boys would just like tip out to, you know, Dublin Airport. They're building a
you
new
can see them.
they're spending a couple of million on a new area for plane spotters.
Oh, are they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I noticed when we were coming in the last time, there was like a fucking row of like hundreds of cars.
Yeah,
looking
so
at-
they're doing like a like a dual level or a multi-level thing where like you have like 3 levels where like cars can park so that everybody can get a good spot and everybody can sit into
must be
one place.
charging people for that.
I'd say so.
Fucking right, they would.
I'd say so. They're spending a couple of million on it, but that'd be class.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's the same with train spotting. Oh, have you seen this lad?
You man with the bug with the man with the eyes.
Yeah.
Of course.
Fucking love him so much, Philip. I love him
So for
much.
anybody who doesn't know him,
It's something bourgeois. I can't remember his name, his first name.
so he's an English lad who wears a double-sided or a 360 camera on his head.
Yeah.
But when it's on his face, it makes him look like an ant with giant eyes.
Yeah. And he just sits and he watches trains come and he goes, "It's the 240 from Christianham. Listen to the engine roar. Ooh, he's fucking like
He gets so excited.
It's the pinnacle of someone being interested in something you have no idea it is, but just their enthusiasm, just you can't help but love it.
And he's like, this 316 from Tamworth, my friend James is under controls,
Yeah.
and he's gonna give us his horn now on the way past, and next thing it beeps, beep, beep, and he's like, "Ooh!"
Yeah, and then he cuts to like an hour and a half later where he's driven ahead of the train to catch it at the next bridge it goes underneath. It's mad what resonates with people and what makes people like the same way as people like football, boxing, music, movies.
Send them in, folks. You have that little box there for everybody sending stuff in. We are reading everything, so send
What is
them in.
something that people what is something that you have no interest in, but that someone's enthusiasm in? You'll watch like videos for hours of someone else doing it, or someone else.
Like, I'll give you the
enjoying
perfect
it.
example. I like watching people clean rugs. So, like, they'll get, like, a filthy rug.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be black with dirt. Like, it'll be, like, you can't even see
Philip's
what
pointing
print
at
is
my
on it.
filthy rug right
No,
now.
no. There's a rug beside me. No.
It is filthy.
No. But there'll be a rug, like, black where you can't see the print on it or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the next thing, they'll just do, like, 6 or 7 going overs on it
Yeah.
until eventually, like, it'll come off and there'll be, like, a cartoon frog underneath it. And, you know, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's pristine
it's like
then.
a
Like,
satisfaction, like it's almost ASMR and all that. Yeah, I've seen some ones with cars where people get cars and they go through it so much they take off all the fairing and take off all the bits on the inside, the dashboard and all. They take it off and they're scrubbing like underneath the dashboard.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love
the
that.
the attention to detail, because it's something that I would never fucking do. I put the Hoover in and go, I can't get to that corner after. Fuck it. I just get one of the kids to do it.
And do you know these lads who they cook a steak and then they cut the steak in the middle, but they purposely undercook it, like to the point just so that people can go, oh, that's undercooked, or they'll purposely overcook it,
Yeah.
just to get a reaction, like,
Yeah.
they'll be like the perfect medium, and there'll be blood just pissing out of it, like it'll be.
Greedy for controversy.
That's yeah.
Yeah, I was watching a fella fix watches. I know you're into watches, but I've no interest in watches or anything to do with them. But I haven't watched it in a while now, but he does like hour-long episodes on YouTube of him taking apart watches. He's got these little rubber finger things.
Right.
They're like the fingers of a latex glove, but just the fingers. And he puts them on and he opens the watch and he has everything is like microscopically small, and he just shows him going in and changing all
You need
the.
a steady hand for that.
Yeah, you're fucking right, you would.
You couldn't do that. You couldn't do that rattled the next
No, you
morning
couldn't.
after a
You
few
wouldn't be doing
pints.
that in an Aer Lingus flight, I tell you.
You just ring him. Sorry, mate. Do you know that Rolex you dropped in? It's in bits.
Yeah, and he takes everything apart like old Rolexes and he takes the screws out, which are like you couldn't even see it with a naked eye from here. And he's putting it all apart and he shows you through the thing and he puts it in through cleaning and puts it all back together and all the crystals and all that are in them all. And it's very interesting. Another fella I watched does electronics. He buys like on eBay, he buys like broken Nintendo Game Boys or something, or all random
Puts
shit.
new
like.
motherboards and stuff.
Yeah, and he solders them all back together. That's what I thought with this. My stomp box here. Oh yeah. What I did was, folks, this is a 9-volt battery for this stomp box, and I put a 12-volt charge into it.
Did you fry it?
Yeah, fried it. And I thought I could go in and replace the fuse, so I took it apart, and I can't even find the fuse in it. So my penchant for watching electronic fixes does not translate into a fucking ability of any kind. That was a €250 stomp box.
Well, I have news for you if you want one. I've got a spare stomp box there. I don't use. You can just have it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've got one there. I've got one in the back of the car. It's a log jam. Do you know the log jams?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll bring it into you now. I'll have it there.
Then will you take the massage gun? Philip hurt himself. That's going to be a swapsies.
I really, really hurt myself. I hurt the back of my neck or something. So I had a heavy weekend. Friday, I had a gig in Dublin. Saturday, I had 2 gigs in the Netherlands. And Sunday, I had a gig in Dublin. And it was just a long, long weekend.
You're burning the candle on both ends, folks.
Every end. And drinking
Yeah.
throughout. It was a great gig. And thank you
I
to
saw some of the, if you haven't seen some of the clips, it looks deadly.
Yeah, it was a
It
great
looked
gig.
real
Thanks a
fucking
million, everybody that came out.
artistic and like fucking great buzz. Always the Dutch are great crack.
Dutch people are incredible party people, and the people of Marken and Volendam especially, like that whole area. It's just it's incredible. Like
They're playing here at the minute, are they? No, they're playing later.
The Netherlands, yeah, 5 o'clock, isn't it?
I think so. Let's see if they're winning now.
When this goes out.
Are they playing Austria? No, Austria are playing.
No, Austria are playing Turkey, aren't they?
Yeah, because I have Austria in the. Netherlands are winning against Romania.
Lovely, good stuff.
Hoop Holland. Yeah, Cody Gakpo.
But yeah, so it was a great gig. But like that, the best video that came out of it, I think I was telling you, there was a guy standing behind me on the stage all night.
Yeah.
And he kept coming onto the stage, and I didn't know what he was doing. So as I was playing, I was getting kind of a bit antsy. Like I was getting a bit antsy with him, and I was kind of like, I was like, what the fuck's he doing behind me all the time? I didn't know, like, so I kept like turning around to look, and you know,
probably how you fucked up your neck, Phil.
But it probably was. But it turned out he was making videos, and he ended up making some unbelievable videos. So while at the time I was like, what's going on here? At the end of it, he just sent me these beautiful videos, and I was like, "Oh, thanks a million." I was like, "I'm so sorry."
Yeah, he was thinking of the big picture, and you couldn't get it out of his head. He was just walking around like a creep.
I didn't know. You see, so what happened was because I didn't know who it was because there were 4 bands, so there was 4 acts on. There was me, and then there were 3 other guys, 2 other guys, and then like a big band who were unbelievable. By the way, they were like a big Dutch party band called Flair. Right. So there were two guys, Marco Schumacher and John West. These are like big, massive Dutch singers. Like, but then this last band, they were like a tracks band. So like they had their whole instruments, but they had backing tracks. Yeah. So like they'd be in the middle of playing a song, and then the next thing like they'd just press a button, and they'd be like, "Y'all ready? Yeah." Dun, 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 dun. So like they had like the perfect mix of like going from band to like a DJ, back to a band, back to so like it was really cool the way they were doing it.
Interesting. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anyone like that. There's a lot of bands that do like 90s hits and all around now, but I never see them because we're always out gigging.
Have you seen Spring Break?
No.
So they're like an Irish band, Spring Break. They're very good. I'll actually just give them a shout out. Anybody for like, you know, weddings and things, they're definitely up there with the best in the country. Like they come out dressed in like your man has like it's all 80s, like real cheesy 80s clothes. Like he wears like a pilot's outfit,
right,
with like sunglasses, like real Miami Vice type of stuff.
Yeah.
And they do like all 80s, 90s party music. Yeah. Like right up to date, but like their 80s, 90s stuff is great. I saw them doing a version of I'll Be There. Do you know the Baywatch theme?
I'll be there.
Yeah, no. Won't let you. You know that I'll be there. And I remember seeing them doing that, and I was like, "Oh, they're fucking class." I was like, "They are, deadly." Many
is in it, you know.
There's maybe 5 of them, and they're all dressed as something different. So she's dressed as like Madonna, the girl, like she's got like a Madonna outfit with like a wig. Then they've got like another guy on the bass who's dressed as like maybe like the Michael Jackson, you know, the Thriller thing. Yeah. Like they're dressed completely 80s. Yeah. They're very cool. Like
nice.
Definitely recommend them. Spring
Break.
Break.
There's a few around Pop Gods, and there was one that was doing it for years. I can't remember the fucking name of them now. I never saw them. Smash Hits.
Oh, Smash Hits,
Remember
yeah, they're but I think they're still huge, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. 'Cause I'm just saying that they were, a few years ago, they were like the only one I've heard of, but now there's.
Well, I think Spring Break were around the same time. I think they were always the two, but I think Smash Hits. So Smash Hits used to do their Smash Hits. This is interesting for anybody getting married or anybody planning a wedding. Smash Hits used to do their wedding showcases in like Spirit. Remember Spirit?
Yeah.
In Abbey Street. So like normal like other bands would like, you know, would just do it in a pub where, you know, maybe 4 people come to see them. Smash Hits used to like have tickets. You'd have to pay a ticket to go in and see a band you'd be booking for your wedding. Like, So they were massive.
Yeah.
And so in the Irish wedding band scene, they're definitely up there.
Yeah, and they sell tickets to a lot of even like big outdoor pub festivals in the summer times and stuff like that.
Well, have you ever seen Big Generator?
No.
Phenomenal band. Blue Moose, phenomenal band. So these were bands, right? Like they're incredible musicians, but these are bands who really benefited from the Celtic Tiger. Like, so there was a point from like, let's say 2003 to like 2007 where there was at least, like, especially in the smaller towns, there was at least 2 pubs that had a band 7 nights a week.
Yeah.
You know, like in Dublin, every pub probably had bands 7 nights a week during the Celtic Tiger.
Yeah.
But in the smaller towns, you had at least 2 pubs. So you had bands everywhere 7 nights a week. And these bands, like some of these bands were going out for like 10 to 15 grand a night. Some of them were going out 10 to 15 grand a night, 5, 6, 7 nights a week. You know, like there were bands in Ireland on 100 grand a week.
Yeah.
Like,
Nice.
it was madness. Like
Times they are changing.
the Celtic Tiger. So, folks, it's a good. We're going to actually do a very special Celtic Tiger episode very soon.
Yeah, Celtic Tiger also agreed, and the economy crashing also agreed.
The only thing is, I don't want to go into it too much because I want to put a whole episode in it because the Celtic Tiger, and it's something I have a bit of an obsession with because I loved living through it. Because I only caught the tail. I was too young.
Yeah.
Like, I'm 37 now, and the Celtic Tiger from like 95 to 2007 was the broad spectrum of it. Like, you know, we had game shows like Winning Streak where we'd just throw out 300 grand in a night for no reason whatsoever. You know, like, you didn't have to do anything. You just had to get on, win as much as you could, and then you got to spin a wheel to win fucking more.
Yeah. There was no skill to it at all.
Like we had so send us your best Celtic Tiger stories. Everything, like, because there is a lad I know. I'm just gonna give you this quick one. I think he was a carpenter. He was a carpenter or a plumber, and he was in getting a chicken fillet roll
Yeah.
in the shop, and there was a car garage, a Toyota garage next door, and there was a brand new Toyota Celica in the window, and he was in buying a chicken fillet roll, and he came out and he saw the Toyota Celica. He was in his work gear. He walked in and he had a look at the Toyota Celica, and the salesman goes, "Do you want it?" And he said, "Yeah." Right? The salesman got on the phone to the bank and they sorted it out, and he left the Toyota garage with his chicken fillet roll, a small bottle of Coke, and a Toyota Celica. A brand new Toyota Celica. and that for me is the Celtic Tiger, like.
And the whole lot was the same price as a chicken fillet roll today, folks.
But I love that story. Like, he was on the way to work that morning, bought a chicken fillet roll, bought a bottle of Coke, bought a Toyota Celica, and went and did a whole day's plumbing. Was he a plumber or a carpenter? But Colm, he's there. How you call him?
That's a class story. Yeah, well, that's what kind of happened with the whole 2008 collapse, because all these financial packages, and they kept making up new financial products, and they were like basically just giving money to people who could never afford to pay it back, and that's how it all collapsed. And becomes the greed of the people who want to make these packages to make money, to make things, and then the greed of people who want to keep up with the Joneses, and it becomes like a thing. And the price of housing now is crazy. I keep feeling like it's going to collapse, but
It just keeps going up.
keeps going up. And I think maybe it won't collapse because there's too many people in the government now that are landlords.
Yeah, well, that's so. I remember I lived in Qatar in 2019. There was this thing called the Katifan Project, and it was a big island that they were building off the coast of Doha.
I remember it, yeah.
And they were building it off the coast of Doha, and they were doing this. But what happened was, they had an exhibition. A band I was in at the time, we were singing at this big exhibition, and there were all these stalls from the UK, like Knightsbridge, all these areas of London where all these Qataris went, and they were selling them apartments in Knightsbridge.
Yeah.
And they were selling them apartments in European cities off the plans. So you could go there and you could buy 5 apartments off the plans before they were offered to anybody here.
Yeah.
So when a housing estate opens here, 50% of it could be gone to vulture funds, to the Qataris, to the
Pension funds and
Emiratis,
all
to the
sorts,
Saudis.
Yeah.
So that's why our house prices. Ryanair bought like 30% of a housing estate recently off the plans.
You know, the duality of capitalism and socialism that people always love to argue about. There's obviously people always want to argue about what's good and bad about both, but in reality, probably the answer is somewhere in the middle. Everyone wants to argue about the goods and bads about, but what happened was with manufacturing and stuff was such a big process, and then through in the 80s, manufacturing started getting outsourced to countries, poorer countries who are now the world leaders.
Yeah.
So basically, the people who are complaining that China are getting too powerful are the people who gave all the business to China so they could make more money. And we're supposed to be afraid or whatever. So, you know.
We should be.
Yeah, I don't think we should be. I don't think China would be any worse. Like anyone who's in power now just wants to be for their power to keep going.
Did you see the video of Kim Jong-un and Putin?
Yeah, neither of them lads are ever going to be in charge of the world.
Did you see the two? So the two of them shook hands, and then they gave each other a drink.
Yeah.
And they both had the drink. Did you see it?
No.
And they toasted, they cheers, they like clinked glasses, and then both of them held it for a second. Neither of them wanted to drink it.
Yeah.
It's a very good video.
Yeah.
The two of them clink glasses and they're just looking at each other, and you know, neither of them wants to drink it. I wouldn't have drank it.
I wouldn't have drank it
but
either.
eventually the two of them just do take a wee sip and put it down.
Yeah. It's funny because we say, you know, people, when someone gets to that much power or get that much influence, that we have a tendency to think that they have it easy or that they don't struggle in life. But really, you know, there could be people out to poison them with fucking.
But that's
all the
it.
time.
Like,
yeah, you build, like, the more powerful you get, the more resistance you get from enemies or whatever. It's just like there's nobody in the world doesn't suffer. That's what I realised. There's nobody in the world that doesn't suffer in some way. Now you can try and compare people suffering, like this person's starving to death and this person can't find their car keys, and to us objectively something isn't suffering, but it's really just in the eyes of who's suffering. If all you've known is never having food, that's your daily struggle. Where if you've had food all your life, but you've got mental health issues, that's your daily struggle. Yeah. And you can't really say this one is worse than the other. It's just
Jesus, mental health is I wouldn't fancy being a teenager now at the minute.
No, but I have a feeling that my prediction is that these next generations are going to be far more well-rounded than us.
Do you think so?
I think so.
Just because they're more versed on generational trauma.
They're just getting more, like, everything we talk about now. There was no mental health things when we were younger. No, and you can say that people go too far with it, like, as you say, the pendulum swings, and people go too far and it becomes too much of a topic. But it's people are talking about it.
Well, that's true, and I suppose I didn't know anything about generational trauma.
Yeah,
you know, I didn't know that, like, you know, let's say your parents, they grew up like 3 or 4 generations back, not, you know, in a time of nothing, like, like beatings, kids got beatings. Yeah. And now, we're breaking the cycle.
People had kids to work the farm.
But that's it, like, so your mammy's mammy and your mammy's mammy's mammy and your daddy's daddy and your daddy's daddy's daddy, like, they were, they only knew one way. And as it filtered down, I think now we're being more versed because I didn't know much about generational trauma until the age of social media. And, guys like Gabor Mate and what's his name? Eckhart Tolle. Guys like Gabor Mate and Eckhart Tolle, and really, really, Sadhguru and these really spiritual guys kind of opened my mind to all of that. And maybe that's what because kids are seeing that now. We're seeing it and they're seeing it. So they know,
Yeah, you think of it as it's an evolution. Like, so it's like if you send a bass wave through a frequency, it goes this way and it loses power as far as it goes. So I see a thing I've noticed on social media, or I did see when I was on Twitter, was people would put a picture of someone from the 1940s coming back from war going, this man did a bit of it, and this is what men used to be like, as if that was a good thing, that this man had to go over and kill people that he didn't know from more powerful people. Like this is what men used to be like. And then it showed another picture of someone now like Sam Smith or someone, whatever people would say is not manly.
Harry Styles.
Yeah, or is not manly now. But that's progress. Now we won't see it or people older than us will see it as less progress. We'll see it as a bit more progress. The next generation will see it more as progress. It's just a matter of trying not to fight against the tide, I find. So and through generations, it's just like we're not just evolving, we're revolving. Like we're going around in circles, patterns and cycles, and each time we're getting slightly more evolved. And I think from my perspective, and it's only in the perspective that you hold of yourself that you can judge anything, I think we're going to be all right.
Nice. Well, we're on the right path.
Yeah,
folks,
right.
We want you to tell us what you think. We've been reading all the messages. We've been reading a lot of messages on the guests, so we are looking into that at the moment. The guests are we've had some very interesting guests sent in. So look, we are on that. The guests are coming. And we are going to do a very special episode on the Celtic Tiger. So get your Celtic Tiger stories in because it's really it's fascinating.
Yeah,
it is fascinating.
We want to have a few anecdotes from people from the Celtic Tiger.
So
we have our own, of course.
Of course,
but we want to hear a few more.
Whatever your craziest ones are, whatever you just like that story about the Salika, whatever you know. Listen, look, Charlie Haughey had an island. You know, like our Taoiseach.
And he called it Ireland.
When our Charlie Haughey had an island, and the Taoiseach that came 2 Taoiseachs after him didn't have a bank account. So you know, like
yeah, good times.
You know, our Taoiseach didn't have a bank account.
Well, this is it. Like the greed of politicians with this much ambition and greed, they tend to get into power because that's their ambition in life. Whereas most people don't have that drive. It's like I didn't watch it. I just watched some commentary of this president debate the other day, like Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And anybody watching that thinks that these two men have any power whatsoever, I think it's just, how can you not see that this is just a fucking show?
The puppets.
It's just to keep you entertained, and look at it like that. Phil, you should just laugh at it. Just laugh at it. These two people have no power, no matter who wins. Nothing will change until...
I'd say Trump gets into let's say either of them get into the Oval Office. They wanted to make a real decision and they make a phone call and the other end is just laughing at them.
Get me that hack to a girl. Yes, sir, Mr. President. Right away.
Yes, sir. But then he makes a serious phone call. Give me the foreign policy. No.
Yeah, he goes,
Jesus,
the foreign policy? No. You say you've read the foreign policy. We don't let you read
them.
Come on now. Yeah, that's the CIA problem.
Donald, you just do the interviews.
Yeah, you just do the interview.
Okay, sorry, Mr. Rothschild.
Yeah. So the Rothschilds and the bankers, and these are all just other parts of the spectrum that we're all part of the one spectrum. So we should try not to judge them, but then we just don't let them...
One of the Hiltons is married to one of the Rothschilds.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so I was told the other day, yeah.
Paris Hilton.
So, yeah, I think it could be Paris's maybe cousin or sister is married to one of the Roths. One day.
Haven Hilton.
Yeah, so she's married to one of the Rothschilds, but there was a few families. So the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers. Henry Rockefeller had 9 heart transplants. 9 successful heart transplants. He died at 101.
Crazy.
Is Walt Disney still in...
Yeah, he's in cryo.
He's in cryogenic freezing, yeah.
Yeah. See, that's what a lot of people... From spiritual things I read, a lot of people who are the most successful, like financially or whatever, or powerful in this life, have the most trouble releasing themselves from their ego. So you're actually building yourself up a lot of karma from living a life like that, because like you're trying to hold on to this life because you feel like this is the life, like when everything's going your way, or when you have this much power, you feel like you need to hold on to it. Whereas if you don't have any power, really, it's easier to let it go. When it comes time to let go at the end. But
then I heard, so there was actually a man of mine telling me that in 2046 there's like some convention where they're going to they're working on unveiling a robot. That was so Freudian.
Philip's eyes lit up.
That was so Freudian. A robot that they can transfer your consciousness into, and then you can live forever. I'd fucking hate that.
I don't think they'll be able to do that. They might be able to put in like an AI version of your consciousness.
So, well, this is what they're working on now. That you can that you can transfer your consciousness and your memory bank. So, to put a chip into your brain that can kind of repeat and reenact. Your brain is built on patterns.
Yeah.
And then they can repeat and reenact. So then they can store them all on this chip, and then they can take that as your consciousness and transfer it into a robot. So it's doing the same thing. But I don't think we've understood spiritually what consciousness is. So I don't think
they can't. It's called the hard question in science because it's science as useful as it is to us is a materialistic approach to everything. So they can't study. They can tell you how something works. They can't tell you why something works. That's the whole point with science, which is science and philosophy is like the dance of dark and light, and it's another duality that has to harmonize over time. So shouldn't be too judgmental of scientists because they are materialists and that's what they know. And it's the same with people who are more philosophical. And then you have someone who is philosophical and a scientist like Einstein. That's where you get big jumps forward. But reality, like
Hawking was like that too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a bit like that as well. Yeah. So, like when you're locked in your body, surely you have a lot more time
to think.
To think or meditate. You know what I mean? There's a thing called panpsychism now, which is the double slit experiment where they see that matter that's observed acts differently than matter that's not observed. So basically, see this spaceman. We think of ourselves as the spaceman in the universe, but really we're the spaceman projecting the universe. We're creating it through we're creating the collective universe that we all agree in, like laws of gravity and all this. This is all part of our encoded in our agreement as a collective. And then we've got our own universe that we're creating, manifesting as we see, and all the problems and joys and sorrows we have. So, like, I think if we woke up tomorrow and every single one of us, every human, like, knew that humans could fly, not like believed, but knew, they just thought humans could fly, then we'd be able to fly.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Right, folks, start getting right. I want to fucking fly, folks. I want you all to believe.
It won't happen like that because people won't truly believe. It's not about believing. It's just that you know.
I want everybody listening to this to take some DMT tonight.
Yeah, get yourself some DMT.
Get yourself some DMT, and I want you to just know we can fly.
Listen
everybody
to some R. Kelly.
And tomorrow morning, I want to wake up. I want to wake up and fly to the shop.
I believe I can fly. Woo! I believe I can touch this
DMT. That's something that's on my bucket list now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, psychedelics are. I have been a big proponent of, but now I think that there's more stable ways to get in touch with the.
I've experimented with magic mushrooms in Amsterdam and things like that over the years. I wouldn't mind microdosing maybe for a little while, just to
yeah.
Like a lot of the Silicon Valley guys, a lot of the big tech guys in Silicon Valley they microdose magic mushrooms every day just to.
Yeah, that could be a thing to do. I think they're just like everything else. It's a tool that you can use. I just finished reading Ram Dass's life story.
Well,
and he talks about, and I can relate how he had psychedelic. He would never change the psychedelic experiences he had because he feels like it cracked the window, but then it was the spiritual awakening he had that really flew open the door. And that's how I feel as well. I did many psychedelics for many years and definitely had some experiences that showed me that there was more than this life. But then it took this spiritual awakening for me to kind of, like, you'd take psychedelics and you'd have this experience, and then after a few days you'd forget about it. Whereas once I've had this spiritual experience, it nearly, even when things are really bad and dark, like
you can still hold on to it.
I'll still come back. It'll still come back around, and I'll see.
Nice.
Yeah. So I think it's more of a stable way of finding out what we really are and why we're here.
Lovely.
Yeah. So, folks, that was our podcast on greed. I don't think we went into greed too much in it, but we talked about lots of other shit.
We did.
So, we'll get on to us about the Celtic Tiger stuff. Get on to us about any other topics you'd like us to jump around and not really talk about.
Keep sending us what guests, because some of the guests have been hilarious.
Yeah. Larry Murphy, I told you, is 666.
He just won't do it.
He just won't do it. He's living up in the woods now. But thanks for listening to the Temple Bard podcast with me, Jim Wynn, and Philip Noon. Sláinte.